Hey, hello there. It's noon. Welcome. I hope everyone is having a great Friday. If you see me looking over this way, it's because I have another computer there that I can check out your questions. Sometimes I can't see them on the screen. So happy Friday. Annapolis has got beautiful weather today, and it's a great day to be alive. So if you haven't been here before, let me just tell you a little bit about this technology. Over on the right side, you'll see there's a column, and that's where you can communicate with me. You can ask your questions or make comments, and I'll be watching for that, and I'll answer it as I go along. Also, just below the screen where you're watching, you'll see that says questions and topics and polls. If you could take a minute while people are getting on to go ahead and answer the poll and vote on a question or topic that you're interested in. So that gives me a little bit of direction on where you want to go today. That would be really helpful. The other thing is our topic for today is around building resiliency, getting it all done with grace and ease. That doesn't mean we have to stay fully there. It's a broad topic. It can mean a lot of different things. So I'm going to give you a minute to answer some of the polls and vote on the questions and to wait as people get on. Typically, people get on a little after 12. So that's what's going to happen here, I'm sure. Again, I'm looking on the other side to see who's answering. Oh, and today we have a special guest. Let me see if I can show you my special guest. Special guest, say hi. This is Finn. Finn, say hi. Say hi. Finn decided to come on our session today. He is my buddy, and he's like the coaching dog. You know how you have therapy dogs? He's the coaching dog. Okay, so let's start chatting here. Again, I'm hoping that you will get on. Yes, there's some people on taking the poll. That's wonderful. And vote on questions and topics. That way I know which one to answer first. And again, our session is about resiliency and getting things done, but it's a pretty broad topic. And so you'll be able to answer similar questions. I see a question here. Let's see, on reaching out for a new environment, blog email, also mindfulness practices. So I put a couple of questions in there myself. What would your ideal day look like? What drains you the most about the way you're leading? If there's something, you're here for a reason, you're having lunch with me, so there might be something very specific that you're interested in learning about, please write it down. Either you can do it in the comments or do it in the questions so that other people can vote for it. And that's where I can start. So I'm basically here for you in whatever it is that you need. Okay? So there's only 2 votes on what drains you about the way you're leading your life. But I don't see any other topics. Let's see. And then the polls. Okay. Great. So what percentage of time do you spend on? Not bad. I mean, there's one that's 0 to 20. There's a couple of you, 20 and beyond, which is great. Somebody's feeling overwhelmed and someone's feeling drifting. Yes, I get that. That's actually a really great place to start. And then there's some other questions I'm asking you in the polls because I am developing some online courses and I'd like to make sure that I develop them for you so that you get the most out of them. Okay. There's a couple more people going on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this question of, I think I'll start with overwhelmed, okay? Again, I'm waiting for your comments, so feel free to comment in the right column. I'll be able to see. Okay, overwhelm. I think a lot of us feel overwhelmed a lot. This is kind of the state of our environment right now. I had someone, one of my clients say to me the other day, I get a lot done, but I never get anything done for me personally. And so when I asked her what that was about, basically she puts everybody in front of herself. So I think that's very common with women in particular. This is a woman. So here's what I have to say about being overwhelmed. When we're overwhelmed, I want to introduce you to a mind shift. Okay, this is a mind shift. So here's my cup, right? Cup. Now imagine that I'm pouring water into this cup, and I keep pouring, and I keep pouring, and I keep pouring. And of course, what do you think is going to happen? Right? Cup's going to overflow. So the cup starts overflowing, but I keep pouring stuff in there. So here's the question. Am I putting too much stuff in here, or is the cup too small? I want you to think about that question. Is this cup too small, or am I putting too much in it? I see Jendaya's comment. So Jendaya, your life, it has a cup, right? And the cup is what the cup is. I can't make the cup any bigger. It is what it is, right? But you keep pouring stuff in. And yes, there's a lot of stuff that has to go in the cup. I get that, right? But we behave as if the cup was too small. We don't behave as if we're pouring too much stuff into the cup. Think about that. We behave as if this cup is too small, not as if we're pouring too much into the cup. All right? So here's the thing. Jendaya, I'll go to your comment. Hi, Alicia, I'm overwhelmed, recently separated, 4 children, rebuilding a career after 11 years home with the kids. So it's a matter of creating, and I don't mean to simplify this by any means, okay? But you need to start creating criteria, which leads to prioritizing. And it sounds really simple, but I know it's not, because there's a whole emotional component. So Jendaya, the very first thing you need to think about is going to be counterintuitive. It's how are you taking care of yourself? Because there's no way you can do everything else unless you take care of yourself. It does not mean you spend 3 hours at the gym or something like that. It can mean getting up a little before everybody else and having a quiet cup of coffee to start your day. Every single day. It can mean taking 30 minutes to do either yoga or stretching. And again, it sounds a little trite, and I don't mean it. It can mean lying in bed, and before you get up, just taking 3 really deep breaths and asking yourself, how do I want to enter my day? What do I want to focus on today? See, when we're overwhelmed, we end up at the end of the day feeling like we did nothing. We could have done a lot, but we still feel like we did nothing. And part of that is because we never defined one thing, not 5 things, one thing that you needed to get done. It could be simple. It could be writing that email that you've been meaning to write, or finishing an article that you've been meaning to finish, or applying for kids' tennis camp. Just that one thing equals being productive. Productive is the balance to overwhelmed. When we're overwhelmed, we don't feel productive. We just feel like we're hamsters on a wheel. Okay? It's a psychological shift to move from overwhelmed to productive. And all it takes is defining one thing in the morning, or maybe the evening before, if that's helpful. Tomorrow, I will accomplish this one thing, and everything else after that is gravy. And that really helps with overwhelm. Second thing about overwhelm is setting yourself up for the next day and not putting 10 things on. To-do lists, I like lists, but I don't call mine a to-do list anymore. I call mine an action list. And I highlight the first 3 actions, because those are the 3 actions that I need to complete the next day. I do that in the evening before. If I complete those 3 actions, it's a good day. I feel productive. And if I complete anything else, well, it's a great day, or, I feel pretty good about it, right? But it does keep me out of overwhelm, and actually it makes me even more productive, because that sense of having an accomplished something kind of drives the other things that you have to accomplish. Jindaya, so does this help? Can you write in the comments, is what I'm saying helpful? Do you want me to go in another direction? Do you have a follow-up question? Anybody else who's on as well? I'm answering Jindaya's comment, but I'm answering it for all of you as well. I want to give you a minute to go ahead and write something on the comments area. This is typically a little bit of a delay. Let's see, so I can see that what you're saying, okay? All right, so exactly what I answered kind of goes to the other, okay, very helpful. Sometimes I feel like a hamster on a wheel. Yes, it's lots of stuff, but sometimes it's not important. That's why you feel overwhelmed and not productive. So defining what's important is really the key to trying to manage it all. That and starting your day. So I'll give you an example. When I was living in Boston, because that's where I'm from, I like to sleep in. I think I probably started my own business so I could sleep in, honestly. I used to sleep as late as I possibly could, and then rush and get myself ready, get in the car, and go to work. And by the time I managed Route 128, what do I call it, traffic, I got there, and of course I grabbed a second cup of coffee, and I started my day pretty frazzled. This is before I knew all this stuff, right? So different kind of day. This morning this time I get up early enough. I still don't get up at the crack of dawn, but I've just created a different kind of format to my day. I get up, actually I wake up naturally now because I allow light to come into the room now. I get up and I do exactly what I told you. I lie in bed, I take 3 deep breaths, and I ask myself, what kind of day do you want today? And I already know what 3 things I want to accomplish, because I would have done that the night before or at work. I would have I leave it on my desk. These 3 things are what you have to do tomorrow. So when I get in, I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not like, okay, now what am I supposed to do, right? It's right there. I do the 3 things. I'm done by 9:30. Yay, I'm productive, okay? But going back to Boston. So I would be frazzled. Now I wake up, I give myself just a couple of 3 deep breaths to what David White calls entering precariously into my day. I love the way he does that. David White's a great poet. And I enter my day that way. And the very first thing that happens in my day, okay, this is a little personal, but I'll share it with you. It has to do with Finn. Finn, when I get up, waits for me outside the room. He's not allowed to sleep in the bedroom. And I sit on an ottoman and we cuddle. That is the way I start my day. Not a bad way to start a day, to have your best friend, 4-footed friend, cuddle you and cuddle with them. And how can you have a bad day when, this little puppy is like giving you unconditional love? Find something like that. Find something that you can begin your day that gives you that sense of being cared for. You might have to give that to yourself, but find that, because that's going to set the tone of the whole day. And if it means getting up 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, yes, you begin your day with something that's meaningful, that you care about. The other thing is, with children, daily care of kids, laundry, cooking, cleaning. Jindai, I don't know if you make I imagine you do, but you make breakfast for kids. So is there something that you could change about that? Could you make pancakes the night before in funny faces? Maybe you don't do that every single day, but maybe you do that once a week. And in the morning, you just heat them up. Okay, no such thing as being the perfect mom. It doesn't exist. We all do what we can with what we've got. And we try to make it as joyful and meaningful as possible. So don't take on the I have to be a perfect mom thing, because there isn't such a thing. That creature does not exist. My son is now actually this week turning 21 years old, and he lives with his dad. He's grown up to be a great kid, young man. And I remember doing similar things while I was working and caring for him as well. So that's a good way to start your day. Okay, I'm waiting for more comments and more questions. Let's take a look at the questions here. I just sort of kind of told you what my ideal day might look like. So what is your ideal? So let me ask you that. What does your ideal day look like? What would it be if you had your ideal day, and it was an ideal day where you were healthy, you were taking care of yourself, and you were building resiliency and being productive. So you're getting it done, okay? Because really, all of this is about, our culture is about getting it done. We have to get stuff done. That's just, we run on productivity. So what does that look like? Ready? So I'm waiting for your comments. I know you're there because I can see you. I know who's on. Anybody? Ideal day is filled with activity that energizes as opposed to drains. Thank you, Danielle. You're right. And so what's interesting is I did a talk for Johns Hopkins. As a matter of fact, I'm going to send you the link for those of you who are on. I just saw the video of it. They videotaped me. And I did a talk for Johns Hopkins University for their alumni, and it was women in business. And part of what we talked about is exactly what Daniel mentions, filled with activity that energizes as opposed to drains. So one of the things that we were talking about is self-care. And I asked them to do this exercise that I'm going to share with you. 2 columns on a piece of paper, okay? I want you to consider your commitments, your activities, and your relationships with people, okay? Column 1 says, these energize me. These things, these people, these relationships, these commitments, these activities energize me. Column 2, those same, drain me. So think about your day or your week and start assigning what energizes you and what drains you. Exercise, healthy meals, positive interactions, productive work, nourishing body, mind, and soul. Goes in the energize, right? This is what helps us, really function optimally, but also be happy. So when someone asks you to do something, we say yes really quickly. We don't like to say no, right? I see this a lot. Overwhelm is driven by overcommitment. This is another piece, okay? So if I'm going to say yes to everything, I'm basically saying no to anything for myself. So if you're asked to do something, can you do this? All right? Or something's coming up that you're being asked to commit to. Think about that exercise. Does it energize you to do that? Or does it deplete and drain you to do that? When you're asked, just pause and ask yourself, does this energize me or does this deplete me? If it depletes you, and it's not something, something really essential, like there's still things we have to do even though it depletes us. But overall, there's a lot of things we commit to that deplete us that we don't have to do, okay? So if it depletes you, here are some alternatives. Obviously, no, I cannot commit to that. Second thing is, I need to think about whether or not I can commit to that. I will let you know by 5 o'clock today, or I will let you know tomorrow if that works for me too. Or it could be, I can't do it by that time or in that way, but I could do this other thing. Okay, these are all options to saying yes as a knee-jerk reaction to the ask for your attention or your time or your energy. Daniel, who's worked with me in an Aikido class for leadership presence, will recognize this. Energy follows attention. Wherever you're putting your attention is where your energy is going to go. So be careful where you put your attention, because if your attention is on things that are meaningless, unproductive, depleting, all your energy is getting sucked into that vacuum, right? And what does that do? It builds and builds and builds, and it causes overwhelm, and eventually it causes disease. So this is our stress-filled lives are driven by this overwhelm, overcommitment, not being clear on this energizes me, this depletes me. And in order for you to say, I'm going to do what energizes me and I'm not going to do what depletes me, we go back to my little saying about being the center of your universe. If you are the center of your universe, are you really going to do all that stuff that depletes you? Probably not. You're probably going to want to do the stuff that energizes you and makes you happy and gives you meaning. And sometimes it's like, I hate to work out. Let me just be honest about that. I don't know why, but I do. But I go and work out because I know that I am the center of my universe and that it's healthy for me and that it helps me do these other things that I love to do. So it clears my mind so I can be a better coach. It makes me stronger so I can go kayaking, which I love to do. But if I were weak, I wouldn't be as feeling as safe or comfortable on the water. So there's something bigger than this thing I'm doing. It's for the sake of something else. And so eventually that kind of line is, it's for the sake of, maintaining my wellness, which keeps me at the center of my universe in a good way. It's not a selfish, I would say self-centered in a negative way. Selfish basically says I'm taking care of myself. I don't know why we made it mean I'm taking care of myself at the expense of others. No, self-care is not at the expense of others, but it does mean that you have to make choices. So Ophelia comments, an ideal day is to be able to do the things that I enjoy the most. Working with positive and creative people, working out, having dinner with my husband and children. So if that's your ideal day, then in the morning and every day, you purposely enter into your day with the intention of having an ideal day. Stuff happens, you may not end up with an ideal day, but your intention at the beginning of the day builds optimism. It gives you something to look forward to. And you're able to consciously choose things within that day that either bring you towards creating that ideal day, or if you choose other things, they will take you away from creating that ideal day. So it gives you a focus. It keeps you out of overwhelm. This is what conscious living is all about. Conscious living is about intentionally choosing how you want to live or how you want to work. So it's all about being conscious and aware and awake to what it is that brings you the most joy, meaning, satisfaction, fulfillment, wellness, all of that. So you can see I'm pretty passionate about this stuff, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's take any other questions. I'm looking for questions here. So we talked about the ideal day. So I'm really interested in this one. What drains you the most about the way you're leading your life? Go ahead in the comment area and let me know. What is it? Everybody has stuff that drains you, right? So tell me, as you think about your day or your life, what is it that you find particularly draining? Is it a relationship? Is it an activity? Is it something bigger than that? Let me know and I can help you solve that. Okay? If I don't know, I can't help you solve that. But if I know, I can help you solve that. I'm going to give you a moment or two while I have a sip of mine. My cup does not runneth over my water. Okay, waiting for comments. What drains you? What do you find that's draining in your day? Because I know there's a lag time between the time I ask and the time you write. So it's technology. I'm also interested if this is fun for you. It's fun for me, so I'm hoping it's fun for you and you're getting some value from it. Anybody? Come on, I know you're there. Okay. What drains you? I'll tell you what drains me. Commuting into DC drains me. I did that yesterday. I had a commute into DC. I live in Annapolis. It should be a 30-minute ride. It was close to 2 hours. And I left myself 2 hours. I always leave 2 hours to get into DC, even if it means I'm hanging out at a coffee shop. But I don't like being late for my meetings. This is fun. For me, it's the daily activity of life. I feel as though I'm existing, not living. I'm a very positive person. So Jindaya, what does it look like for you? What would it look like for you to move from existing to, I'm not even going to say living, I'm going to say thriving, right? So living is kind of right here, right? I want to say thriving. So what would it look like for you or anyone else who wants to answer that question to move from just, here's my existence, I'm trying to make it through the day kind of thing, to I'm thriving, things are happening, there's motion, there's joy. What does that look like for you? What would need to be present in your life? Tell me what your day would look like, or your week, or what would you be doing that equals thriving instead of just existing? So let me know, because maybe I can help you get there. And this is not just for Jindaya. I know Ophelia mentions working with positive and creative people. So Ophelia, I'm imagining that you are thriving, that you have these kinds of positive interactions, and that as everyone else does, maybe every once in a while you don't have an ideal day, because none of us have an ideal day 365 days a year. Okay, listening, or actually I'm waiting. So Jindaya answers. A satisfying job, time for myself without feeling guilty. Ooh, there's that word again. I want to go to there. I used to be there, but went back to work full time and now separated. How to balance it all. Okay, guilt. My client yesterday in DC, we were talking about how she apologizes. In the first 15 minutes, I had never met her before, by the way. In the first 15 minutes, she apologized 3 times. I was early, and she apologized for not coming out to get me, which I didn't expect her to. I was early. And actually, that was a big topic of conversation. And one of the things she apologizes for is she has to give work to some people who are a little over their head. And she was apologizing for that, okay? And she said, I feel guilty. Now, let me just make a distinction around guilt. I was brought up Catholic, and I'm very familiar with guilt. And I've since left not only the church, but guilt, actually. Guilt should only happen when you have done something with malicious intent, when you actively sought to hurt someone. And if you are, if you're a human being, then your conscience will tell you that you've done something to hurt someone, and i.e. you will feel guilty. That's the only reason to feel guilty, when you've maliciously done something to hurt someone, right? So Jindaya, A time for myself without feeling guilty. Why do you feel guilty? Because you're not hurting anyone. That's the I'm taking care of myself at the expense of others. There's no at the expense of others, right? Indeed, the only way that you can take care of others is if you take care of yourself first, right? So guilt, is only your conscience telling you that you've done something with malicious intent. So you got to let that one go. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard for you to be the center of your universe. Sue Schmidt, balancing new location, no income with travel back to Maryland for income. Yes, I know, Sue. Here's the thing. You have such amazing courage to go out and take a quantum leap in your life. So when you do a transition like that, there's a certain amount of time that you are recalibrating. So right now, Sue, you're recalibrating. You are doing two things. You are engaging life and testing what works. Okay, so does this work? Does that work? And as you test, you reflect on the result of that test. So you might say, yeah, that worked, and that didn't work so well. You recalibrate, and then you re-engage with that new information. You're in that middle place where you are testing what works. And when you start finding out what works, you'll better be able to structure your week, day, and life around what's giving you the most positive engagement. So it could be at some point you decide that you are not going to travel to Maryland because you've created something in your location that is giving you the thing that you were seeking in Maryland. But you're in that transition phase. But I just do it with awareness and do it with consciousness. So be aware. In this transition phase, I am engaging a new way of being. I'm testing out things. I'm reflecting on what works. I'm recalibrating and adjusting so that I will come to another place where I can create this ideal day in life. That's the process, right? That's kind of where you're at. And I can say this because I know Sue. But so be patient with yourself because you're in that middle place and you're going to get there. You absolutely are going to get there. Ophelia says, what drains me is the thought that I'm not giving enough of my time, skills, and talent to those that need it the most. What drains me is the thought that I am. So I don't know what enough time means. And that's what I would ask you to do is what equals enough? Clearly, if you're saying this, you are giving time to those and skills and talent to those that you need it the most, that need it the most. The question is, how do you define enough? And at what point does your definition of enough compromise you at your expense? We only have so much capacity. Would I love to coach people for free? Absolutely. I would love to do this all the time. Rather than do the admin, rather than do the marketing, rather than do a whole bunch of, would I love to sit for 6 hours and work on my book? Absolutely. But I don't have that much capacity as a human being. I have X amount of capacity. And within that, I have to determine what's most important in this moment. And then I choose. So define, Ophelia, define what is enough without having that definition of enough be at the expense of you. Because once it moves over to the expense of you, you won't be able to contribute what you really have going for you. Okay, Sue likes, that's wonderful. Recalibrating and be patient. Yes. Yes. How to make a quantum leap in life, how to do it. I should introduce you to Sue. The very first step in making a quantum leap in life, and it's the hardest one, is to decide to do it. You have to decide to do it. You can't do it unless you decide. So let me just go there. Some of you do and some of you don't know that I live part-time in Ecuador, and I'm building a retreat center on the coast of Ecuador. Now, it is probably the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life for just a whole bunch of reasons. And actually, in the talk that I was referring to that I gave to Johns Hopkins, which was called 10 Lessons on Being Fierce, I invite you to, I'll send you the video link. I invite you to listen to it. It is 45 minutes. I will have it edited at one point. But for now, if you're interested, I'll send you the link. But for me to just, you know, people will say to me, well, how is it that you figured out how to live in Ecuador part-time? How do you manage your work? How do you manage your business? How do you manage your relationships when you're, you know, on another continent? You know, the answer is I figured it out. But I figured it out based on, I didn't ask myself the first question wasn't, how am I going to do this? The first question is, am I committed to doing it? Can I create a new normal that's called, location independence that equals living part-time in Ecuador? Can I decide? Will I decide? I'm going to decide, yes, I am going to do this. And then comes the how. But we go to the how, like, how am I going to do that? What will work? No. First, you got to get it into your DNA that you are deciding to do this thing, that whatever the quantum leap in life is for you. This was my quantum leap. And, you know, at some point, I'll make another quantum leap when I actually move down there and live there most of the time. And I'll still be doing this, just what I'm doing here, because I figured it out after I decided. So decide first. What is the quantum leap? And decide to do it. Define the quantum leap and decide to do it. Okay, Michelle. Yes, Jediah, make a decision and commit to it. That's the first. Oh, Michelle, thank you. I highly recommend Alicia's video. Yes, Michelle, that's how I met Michelle. I attended the Hopkins program and her presentation was great. That was on 10 Lessons of Being Fierce. I will send you the link. I do have it now. It was a great time presenting to these group of just amazing women, one of which was Michelle. So Michelle, my job search both drains me and energizes me. The fact that I have not yet landed a new role is draining, but I am enjoying the new things I am learning and people I am meeting. Networking has always been intimidating for me, so this search is pushing me outside of my comfort zone, which is energizing. So actually in the talk, Michelle, if you'll recall, I mentioned how when you're on the cusp of something, of changing, fear kicks in. And sometimes a little bit of paralysis, but fear kicks in. But on the other side of fear is that energizing, that anticipation, right? So here's an interesting thing. In the last crowdcast that we did last Thursday, we talked a lot about a very similar thing about job search. And I told you that I work with a woman named Deborah Volkman Brown, who is the person that writes my resume, my client resumes, and also does LinkedIn profiles. And she's my go-to person for, the techniques of, job search. I had a conversation with Deborah this week, and I invited her to come on the crowdcast with me and work with you all. And she said yes. So let me just tell you, it's a little preview, because I want you to save the date. On Thursday, June 9th, so it won't be the next one, it will be the one after that, we are going to do a crowdcast, and we're calling it How to Navigate the Brave New World of Job Search. Okay, how to navigate the brave new world of job search. Michelle, I believe you're working with Deborah, so that will be pretty good. And we're really looking at it in three segments. One is we're going to talk about what is the fear behind doing a job search. What kinds of things show up when you engage a job search? Okay. The second thing is, what are you supposed to be doing before a job search? Before you go job hunting, there's a whole bunch of stuff you should be doing before you write your resume, before you start interviewing. People fail in their job search because they don't do these things. So we're going to talk about what those things are. And we're going to talk about the state of job hunting. So Deborah's going to speak to, what she sees in the environment. How long does it take now? What can you anticipate? What's a reasonable expectation? And what are the 5 mistakes that people make when they start looking for a new job or even a new career? So save the date, June 9, Thursday, noon. She's going to come on, and that's going to be the focus. And I will email you how to do that. And I also just saw, if you don't mind, oops. I hope you didn't see that. I just put something on. Okay, so what else? Okay. I'm sending one of my people, reboot your computer, okay, who's having trouble with getting online. So sorry, I had to pause to do that. Okay. What else can we talk about? We have 15 minutes. I want to make sure that I'm hitting your questions. So let's look at the questions. So any more questions that you have, you can either write them in the question area, and then I'm also going to ask you to please respond to the polls, because they will give me some information on how to develop programs for you. And again, I'm going to send you the link to the video for Johns Hopkins, the 10 lessons on being fierce. If you have 45 minutes, that would be cool. You can watch it. I will be cutting, or I guess editing, the better way of putting it. I will be editing it to make it shorter and hitting some key points. So don't worry about that. I'll be sending that out. And save Thursday, June 9th, when we have a guest, Deborah Volkman Brown, with Surpass Your Dreams. And we're going to be talking about how to navigate the brave new world of job search. So what else can we talk about now? Come on, people. You're here. I want to make sure you get what you need. Stacy, are you on? I see Stacy, Stacy, who I happen to know. If you're on, tell me you are in the comments area, and shoot me a question, because your questions are really good. Okay. What else? We talked about the ideal day, how to reach out in a new environment. Jendaya, did I answer your questions? Just let me know. So I'm curious. Okay, yes, you did. Very helpful. Good. I'm curious also, what kinds of mindfulness practices do you all have? Mine is exactly what I told you, the way I start my day. I also, because I have a dog, and thank goodness for him, I have to go out pretty much in my pajamas sometimes, out on my patio, and let him out. And it's just especially, well, not when it's raining, it's not especially nice, but nevertheless, on a day like today where it was sunny, I just stood out there, and the birds were singing. It was beautiful, and it was a moment of gratitude. It's a moment of gratitude. So I really believe in moments of gratitude. I think I told you in a previous crowdcast, I have a jar. That's my gratitude jar. And every morning I think about something I'm grateful for. And I have my little Post-its, and I write it on, and I actually date it. I like to date it. I don't know why. I have to date it, but I do date it. And and when it fills, I go through them so that I remember, or if I'm having a really bad day, which I have every once in a while, then I pull a couple of them out and go, don't forget, Alicia, this is what you're grateful for. That really, really helps in terms of a mindfulness practice. Stacy introduced me to your crowdcast. Yeah, good. Okay, Sue. Sue is an amazing yoga teacher who was living in Annapolis and has now moved to Santa Fe and made her quantum leap. Yoga, walk, exercise, love, and oh, I love it, the forgiveness practice. Sue, if you can say anything more about the forgiveness practice on the comment area, I would so appreciate it, because you just have a beautiful practice. And then Michelle, yes, you start your day with prayer and meditation. That's just, you know, a wonderful way to start. In a way, it's the gratitude piece as well. Okay. What else? I see someone's trying to log in and is unable to log in. And I'm going to try to help her in a minute while you all, it was on that and it dawned on me that it wasn't live. Claudia's trying to get on. Let me see if I can find a way to get her on. So just give me a minute while you are writing this down. My apologies. This is where I need somebody else to help me with these online sessions. Let's go to... Sorry. Just trying to do things so that people can get on. Let's try that. All right, I'm back. I concur with Michelle's comment. I also attended the Hopkins program. Alicia woke up something in me that has been dormant for some time. I forget to be fierce. That's so nice. I'm so glad. Sometimes I don't hear back, so it's nice to hear that. One of the things I told people when I did the fierce thing was when I started going to Ecuador, I was studying with a family of wisdom keepers, and some people call them shamans. And I was given the totem of a black panther. And I was a little surprised, and I remember saying, well, why the Black Panther? And he said to me, because you embody the characteristics of this animal. So I said, well, what are those? You know, because I could assume. And he said, one is, I'm fiercely protective of people I love. And that's probably true. Maybe even it's a liability sometimes. But that kind of fierce protectiveness about people, my desire to have them reach their potential, to be a part of maybe teaching them something that will bring them joy, that's all based in my fierceness. The second thing is, you know, there's a sense of loyalty attached to that. So there was the loyalty piece. The third thing was my ability, he called it my ability to see in the dark. So panthers hunt at night and they can see in the dark. And what he was referring to is mostly my intuition, was my ability to maybe hear or see something behind someone's words, or to sense into what's happening for that person, and allow that person to experience that in a compassionate way. So I hold a container for that. But in order to hold the container, I have to know that something is back there. And sometimes I don't really know what it is. I just have a sense that there's something there. But it's my way of navigating through the shadows and helping people navigate their own shadow places, what we call going into the basement. So that's where this Black Panther totem comes in. And so when I was in Ecuador, I literally had to tap into what it means to be fierce, because I was in an environment that's very raw, and you can't be in that environment and look at what's happening in front of you and say, you know, this is happening, but saying this is happening from a place of, I wish it were this way, versus this is happening from a place of honesty. It's like, you know, you don't dress it up. You can't dress it up in Ecuador. So if you're walking through a rainforest, you don't have the luxury of saying, okay, so give you an example. Oh, my hair is frizzy. I should do something about that. That's a stupid example. But what it means is, you know, you're walking in and you're saying, I'm just trying to make sure that I don't fall in the mud. I'm just trying to make sure that as I do this walk, I can experience the way the rainforest smells and not call it something else. So it's very raw. So having to be fierce means looking at life exactly the way it is, the good stuff and the shitty stuff, because there's learning in both of those. And you can't learn, you can't develop, you can't evolve unless you look at what actually is, including the difficult stuff that brings us discomfort. Because nobody learned when they were comfortable. People learn when they're uncomfortable, when there's something bothering them. That's the initiator. So that's why fear is actually a friend sometimes, because it tells you that there's something here to pay attention to. That's part of being fierce. Stacy, I'm only able to read this right now. Can't hear, but happy to be participating somehow. I'm not sure why you can't hear it. Maybe you need to not, maybe keep it down, but you can always go back to this recording, Stacy. Because you're registered, you can go back and you will be able to hear it. Thank you for coming, and thank you for referring people to it. Appreciate it. Okay, so we have 5 more minutes. So just to recap, yes, you can come back to this recording and hear it by going to the link where you registered. You're already there. Because you're registered, I'm able to send you certain things, such as a reminder. Thursday, June 9th, I have Deborah Volkman-Brown with Surpass Your Dreams. She'll be my guest, and we'll be talking about how to navigate the brave new world of job search. So for those of you who are interested in your career management, Jendaya, you said you were out of the job market for a while. You really need to be in this June 9th thing and pose that question. What do I do when I've been out of the job market and I want to get back in the job market? So that's a beautiful question. And then, I'll be sending you an invitation to that, and I'll send you the link to the video that I did for Johns Hopkins on 10 lessons for being fierce. Daniel, fear is signals of potential learning as part of being fierce. Yes, that's the way it is. Okay, anything else to wrap up? I want to make sure you're eating lunch. It's one of your wellness things. I have to eat lunch too. What else can we talk about? We're here. I'm here for you. Let me know. Anything else? Please, 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 before you leave, do the poll. It really helps me a lot because I want to develop some courses and some other topics for these free coaching sessions. And I want to make sure that I'm addressing what you need and what you want. So do the polls, please. And any more questions? We still got time, so I've got 7 minutes. What else do you want to talk about? I'm here for you. You want me to tell you a little bit more about what happens on June 9th with the job search? Crowdcast is very inspiring. Thank you, Jendaya. I'm just going to give you a little heads up for June 9th. 3 areas, because that's probably all we'll get to, is fear. So I'm going to be talking about the fear of change, the fear of making a transition, and uncertainty. And Deb's going to be talking about how when her clients go into a job search, the fear that comes up is, am I doing this right? How do I do this while I'm still working? Or what if my boss finds out? There's a whole bunch of fears that happen from that end. So that's the first topic of conversation. Second one is, what do you do before you go into a job hunt? I'm going to be talking about developing criteria, not just for your job, your career, but what's the criteria for your life such that this job or this career is right for you? And how do you do that? How do you do that exploration? And I'm going to also talk about values and talents and experience. And one of my favorite topics is your personal brand, how developing your personal brand way in advance of the time that you're going to start to look for a new job or a new career is so important. That's something you want to do before you start looking for a job. And she's going to talk about what actually do you need logistically? What's your resume supposed to look like? How do you use LinkedIn? And networking. And for those of you who are introverts, I will have a handout for you. Third thing, the state of job hunting. What's going on? A lot has changed. How long does it last? I'm going to talk a little bit more about networking. And I'm going to be able to send you a free download on my top 10 tips for networking. Now, the juicy part about this is she and I are also going to make you some pretty cool offers. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, but they're freebies and they're things that you're going to want to stay tuned for. But you have to be, one offer is only for people who are attending. So for those of you who look at the recording, you'll miss out on that offer. We want the people who are attending to get that free offer. And for everyone, including those who will who are just signed up, you will get the you will get top 5 mistakes people make when job hunting, and you'll get the top 10 tips for networking as a free download. So I really encourage you to save June 9th. Now, if any suggestions for next week's topic, so write them in the comments area. Tell me what you would like to talk about next week. Give me some ideas, or I'll make it up. But I'm happy to talk about what you need, because that's what you're here for. So what would you like to talk about next Thursday at noon that would make it worth having lunch with me? Okay, because I want this to be useful. I want this to be productive for you. Let me know. I'm waiting in the topics area. Come on, people. Ooh, love that. Leading with authenticity and integrity. I like that one. That's a good one, Michelle. What are the rest of you? How's that one? Because, okay, so let me just say, when we talk about leading with authenticity and integrity, it doesn't mean that you don't assume it means that you have to be a CEO or an entrepreneur. As far as I'm concerned, mothers lead. They lead their families. There are people that lead in their community. So one of the things about leadership is what I call personal leadership. So what do you need to know and embody as a person to lead authentically and with integrity? We will talk about that next time. Topic, intuition, inspiration, and creativity. Daniel, that's so awesome, because you know what? That's a big piece of what leading with authenticity and integrity is too. So I'm writing that down, and maybe I'm going to create one topic specifically around intuition, inspiration, and creativity. So watch for that, because I think it deserves its own topic. Thank you, Daniel. Anything else? If it's okay with you all, then we'll do leading with authenticity and integrity. And yes, and I will bring those aspects into it, Daniel. And I think it would be a really interesting conversation to talk about creativity and inspiration and intuition. So I will set something up for its own topic. Thank you, Daniel. Anything else, people? I'm so happy you're here. How to rebuild credibility when absent from workforce with a degree. Jendaya, I will put that question in for when Deborah is online with us and guesting. I will tell her that that's one of the questions that we will address on June 9, because I think that's, I think a lot of people have that question, is when you've been absent from the workforce. I'm assuming when you say with a degree, you're saying you do have a degree. That's what I'm assuming. So correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, yes. So I will be sure that that question is one of the questions we broach on June 9th, if that's okay with you, Jendaya. Super. Anything else? We got a minute more. So look for an email from me where I will give you some of these details and links. And anything else? Finish the poll. Please finish the poll. That's really important to me. Some of you haven't done it yet. It would be really helpful if you did, because it helps me, create good stuff for you. All right. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really enjoy doing this. It's what I'm about, helping people, but I like doing it in this format because it's casual. You know, you don't have to be in a suit. I'm not going to be in my pajamas either, but I'm in my office. By the way, this is my office. For those of you who haven't been here, I have a great office. And there's, of course, the office dog. And here's my workspace. I never showed you my office. So here I am. Whee! Okay. Having a little fun today. Okay, it's Friday. No, it's Thursday. It's Thursday. Have a great Friday. And remember, consciously wake up. Decide what it is you want from that day and be grateful. Okay? Take care, everyone. I'm signing off. It's been a pleasure. Bye. See you next Thursday at noon.